Johnny, Hotel.
Thanks for waiting around and listening to all the performance from the young people in our community. And that's why we're here trying to prepare for the future right here. Tonight we got a very, very special guest coming to you to talk about a lot of information that we may not know about. This young man is a scholar, Dr. Umar Shabazz Bey. He is internationally known. He's been doing research for a long, long time, trying to just empower indigenous people throughout the world. He's conducted research and done research projects all over the world, Switzerland, Canada, and the United States. He's the founder of the Black Adventures Museum. He also is, used to be a former junior high school teacher at Marcus Garvey Junior High School in Los Angeles, California. He is director of the Mirror Institute in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He's a family man. He's a person who understands the reality of our situation. He's a direct descendant of the ancient ones. He's going to bring you a lot of information tonight about just African presence in America long before Columbus. I've known this young man for a long time, and I can say with a great deal of certainty that he has done his research, he's done his homework, and he has a lot of information he's going to bring to us tonight. So, on behalf of First Family Creations, I'd like everybody to put their hands together. The next voice that you will see and hear will be Dr. Umar Shabazz Bey. Come around.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. How was the performance? The great? Other things, sparks coming out. The young people at Southern University work very hard. Dr. Rackley has organized some great people to help control the world, help us to build a future. And tonight, I'm going to try to be brief and simple, but I'm going to bring you some information about our history that we don't normally hear. Normally, Black History Month, we hear about Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, some slavery, and a few other things. And I'm going to teach you tonight about some history that predates what we've always known, okay? First, let's start with the word history. History deals with the recording of events, okay? The recording of events, okay? So, you talk about our story. Our story predates the recording of events, okay? And I myself understand my African legacy and African history, and I understand the fact that not only black people came from Africa, everyone came from Africa, okay? The very first people on the planet came from Africa. Black, white, Asian, and all over the world today. In China, Hawaii, in Mexico, in Japan, you will find the original people, the indigenous people. Australia, the aboriginal people, were people of color, okay? So tonight, I'm going to tell you about the original people not only around the world, but the original people here in Louisiana who are the oldest people found on Earth. Did you know that you have some of the oldest people on the planet found right here in Louisiana? Okay, before it's over, I'm bringing it right home to Baton Rouge, okay, and show you some of the oldest people on the planet right here. Okay, so right now, who do we know are the oldest people on the planet? Who's that?
Magnesh.
Adam and Eve?
Magnesh.
Magnesh.
So-called Lucy.
Magnesh, okay. Well, how old is Adam and Eve? Is that Adam and Eve? Was Eve named Dank?
No.
Okay. Well, let's deal with some old people we found here in North America, right here. This is an Olmec head. Familiar with the Olmec head?
Yes, sir.
The Olmecs are thought to be some of the oldest people in North America. We're going to deal with this concept right here. The hidden history of black civilizations in America, okay? There are several civilizations of black people who were right here long before slaves were brought over here, long before any Indians came across the ocean, Long before any European explorers came across the ocean, there were a civilization of ancient black people in North America. History records the Olmecs as being the oldest civilization here. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about some other people here. Of course, we heard about history, about Christopher Columbus. We've given Christopher Columbus our whole life. We know that this is a lie. Okay? There are several books about this. I'm not going to discuss Christopher Columbus. This is not true. Okay? One thing is not true. Let's go on. Also, we've given a history of the African Holocaust, the slave trade. That's part of our history. The slave trade is not our history. We did not do the slave trade. We were victims of the slave trade. The slave trade is the history of Europeans, people from up here, exporting people down here. Okay? These people up here came out of the Ice Age and began to colonize these people and take all of our resources, okay? Why are we here today? We're here today to set the record straight. All the black people in North America did not come here on slave ships. All the black people in America did not come on slave ships. There are from time immemorial, beginning of time, there were black people on every piece of land on this planet. The problem is we've been given a map, okay? Next. The average people of America, right here, right, very good. We've been given a map of the world that's distorted. We have the continent of Africa. The continent of Africa is the only continent on the planet that is set into the soil, into the ground. All of the continents, South America, North America, Australia, Greenland, all these continents drift. Africa is set in the ground. Okay, next. This is the way it was at the beginning of time. All these are once connected. Can you see how South America fits perfectly into Africa? You have right here North America and Africa fitting together. And you have here a map that I was taught about. Go back one. In school, and in school I did very good. My mom would tell you I made straight A's in school. I love math. I love science. When they took those leap tests, we had leap tests, I made a 99 star. I had no problem. So growing up, I was always blessed with understanding, really overstanding information. So all this research came from me listening to my grandmother in California talk about we ain't come from Africa. My grandmother was 6'3" woman, long hair. She came from what they call the territory, Oklahoma. She always talked about we was more than that. We was more than just Africans. We was more than just slaves, okay? Go next. Next, one more time. My grandma talked about a time when the planet was called Mu. Mu. Today you hear European accounts of Lemuria, Atlantis, all these lost civilizations. We don't know who they were. These people disappeared. Next. And of course we have Africa. Next. An ancient word for Africa, a Moorish word, is a Mexum. Next. A Kibulan is the indigenous name for the continent we know as Africa. This is the name long before any European named Africa Civicanus renamed our continent. Next. Here you have Egypt. Egypt is a Greek word. Egypt is a Greek word. And we say Greek word because if you've gone to school, you will learn that the Greeks were the first civilization recognized in Europe, up here, okay? Go ahead, next. Ultimately, you'll find that the very first people, Denknesh, the oldest woman on the planet, 3.1 million years old, 3.1 million. This might be a problem for some people because I grew up in the church. I was taught about Adam and Eve being the first people on the planet. Adam and Eve, if you listen to any theological scholar, religious scholar, they'll tell you Adam and Eve was roughly 6,000 to 7,000 years old. 6,000 to 7,000 years old, yet we have a black woman, 3.1 million years old, okay? And I guarantee you she had a mother and a father also, okay? Next. We're then taught about Arabia, India, and the problem here I have a problem with. See, India is a subcontinent, and in India, the original people there also were black, called Dravidians, okay? Today they still exist, they're called the untouchables. So today in India, you have the untouchables. If you go to Asia, we have the great Oriental empires. okay? And in Asia, if you go to the Great Wall of China, and you walk down, I have a friend who's a Washita, he's one of my friends. He went to the Great Wall of China and brought me back a photograph of a giant black man on the Great Wall of China, because the ancient original people in China were people of color. Okay, next. And of course you have Europe. Europe is one of the newest cultures on the planet, okay? When we talk about Europe, we talk about the Caucasians, and we are taught oftentimes right here, this is where Iraq and Iran is, okay? We'll do a little bit of geography for people who are not up on the geography. Iraq and Iran are right here. We're taught that this is the cradle of civilization. Mesopotamia, the Tigris-Euphrates rivers, okay? Yet we know that the people here were here for thousands of years. Ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, Tameri. We have our ancient ancestors tell us that the oldest people in the planet came to our zenith in Egypt. But we actually began down here at the beginning of the Nile River, at the foot of the mountain of the moon, which is called Mount Kilimanjaro. So understand, the oldest people on the planet come from here, and if you're black or white, you're African American in America, okay? All the people on the planet started here. Next. Now, of course, this is how the planet started, and we were taught, if you read the Bible, the Empress, that Washita talking about a time when they talk about the day of Peleg, when the lands and the waters separated, okay? So understand, there was a time when the world was like this. Next. The Washita people. Who are the Washita people? The Washita people are some of the oldest people on the planet. We were here in North America, next, right here, before the continents drifted apart. Understand, all these people right here, all this land here was once one landmass. People here did not need a boat to go over here. In history, we're taught constantly that somebody had to get a boat and go from over here to over there. The world is flat. Understand that at one point you didn't have to catch a boat and go across over here. Next. The Washita here, when the earth was called Mu, next. And when the people were called Moors, okay? Moors. Today they say the word Moor, they spell it with two O's, Moor. It comes from the Latin word Moor, M-A-U-R-O, Maro. Maro is a word that simply means black people. A lot of people want to argue, they want to be black, Negro, all these different names. And ultimately, Negro is what? A Spanish word for what? Black. Ultimately, we're all black people. When it comes time, when we're getting jacked up or abused or exploited in some way, we immediately become black, okay? I was in Canada, I was listening to the Jamaicans and the Haitians and the Nigerians, all these people fussing about their national identity. But the minute there was a problem, they all suddenly were black. So understand, I'm black and I'm proud. I'm loving it. Okay, James Brown did me a favor. When I was in elementary school in Los Angeles, California, our teacher always played James Brown, I'm Black and I'm Proud, all the time. And to this day, I still love that song. Next. Here you have the Olmecs, the Aztecs, the Mayans. These are people who lived in Central America. We're right here. This is Louisiana right here. These are the Olmecs. They are thought to be the oldest people on the planet. Aztecs, Iroquois are people who lived in the Caribbean, okay? Carib, the original people who supposedly Christopher Columbus discovered when he got here are supposed to be the Caribs, the Maroons in Jamaica, okay? Next. And of course you have the Moors. The Moors are the people who civilized Europe. For 700 years, the Moors took knowledge into Europe, into Spain, into the Iberian Peninsula, built the first universities here, the first cities, waterworks, waterways, and the Moors are some of the people who traveled the planet spreading knowledge and wisdom. When the invaders came into Egypt, the Moors are the ones who took the knowledge out and saved it, and salvaged the knowledge. They were the teachers. They still travel. I am a Moor. Are there any Moors in the house today? We're all a Moor. We're all the Moors. Okay? Next. Here you have the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Toltecs, more Mayans, the Olmecs. Here is where we are taught the first people in North America existed. Up here you have the Washita proper. Do you think it's possible that the people here happen to meet the people up here? Yeah. It's possible, huh? Okay, next. Here you have, what's this right here? Where are we at right here? Washita. That's the Washita people, right? What's right there behind there? What's right here? We got Lake Pontchartrain, huh? We got New Orleans. Now who they say was here? The Washita people? The Chawasha. You got the Wichita up here, okay? You got it's not, see this Kushata? That is called Kushita. The Kushita people, okay? Tunica, Natchez, Biloxi, all these are indigenous people, indigenous black people. All this land here is Washita. If you ever got a map of the United States, you have the Washita River flowing here, up through the Washita Forest, over to the Washita Mountains. You also have the Washita River, the Red River, which runs this way, and ends up the Washita River right here, okay? The Washita River. When they had the Great Trail of Tears, and the military came in and made all of the Indians get off their land over, get off their land over in Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas. They took them all into Oklahoma, into the Washita. This is a map I got. It says Louisiana and West Florida, okay? It came when the British armies were attacking New Orleans after the War of 1812, the War of 1812. Here you have Lake Pontchartrain, correct? Go next, go next. We'll try to get a little closer. Here you have Lake Pontchartrain. You have the city of New Orleans right here, okay? Here's Gentilly, here's Metairie, and here's the Lake of the Washas, okay? Here's the Washoe River. You go look at the map today, these names have been changed and erased. The Wash is not there. This is called Lake Chenier, I think. Chenier. So here you have an ancient map. It's not that old, about the time of the War of 1812, showing Lake Washoe. And here you have spelled the French way, Washoe. Okay, next. Aha. Now, you say you never heard of this kind of stuff. The Washita people are the original people who built pyramids in North America. You do know we have pyramids in North America. We have pyramids over in Egypt. We also have pyramids here in North America, okay? Here you have an article I got from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. This article came out in December 1995, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. So you can't say the information is not made available. It's just not propagated and given to us. But I am a researcher. I love to read. And tonight I'm going to share with you a few facts I found in my research. All I can do tonight is give you a small table of content, point you along the way, and show you a few things that we have not been told. Okay? Atlanta Journal-Constitution, December 23rd, 1995. Next. It says Southeastern Mounds, pyramids, okay? Next. Older than the pyramids. It's in the paper now. See, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Southeastern Mounds, older than the pyramids. Okay, next. What are they talking about? Huh? Next. Here you have the bottom of that article, a chronology of civilization. They start off here with 1400, about the time of Christopher Columbus. They go over here to agriculture, the first agriculture ever in America, when they start digging and planting. Here you have Rome, 753 BC. Here you have the pyramid, the work start on the Great Pyramid in Giza. That's 2575 BC. In the very end, you have evidence of permanent mound building civilizations in Louisiana, 3800 BC. Okay? We didn't say they found some arrowheads and a few bones and sticks. They found evidence of a permanent civilization in Louisiana. Okay? Not savages. Next. At the heart of it is a place that the ancient people call the Great Bird Mound. Louisiana calls this Poverty Point. They call it Poverty Point because when they got there, they weren't able to grow anything at all. The Europeans who came to this area here, they were starved, they got famine, all kind of things happened. But here, the Great Bird Mound, you will find in history, was a high place of culture and esteem. This is the place where the ancient civilizations of North America came. This is where we had our pilgrimage. You will find here at Poverty Point in the research, artifacts. They can find copper from Michigan. They can find shells from North Carolina. They find minerals from Colorado. They find stuff from Minnesota. All up and down the Mississippi River. And the indigenous name for Mississippi River is the Mississippi River. which stands for the father of all rivers. All along the Mississippi River, you will find people who came down here. And the significant thing about Poverty Point is that Poverty Point existed before agriculture existed. You have a city here. Look at that, look at that city right there. This is the same way the United States Congress set up, correct? Yeah. Same way the Roman Senate is set up, correct? This is where we started democracy. We started government, civilization in North America. Next. Here's something they said, let me break down the article for you right here. New evidence of ancient mound cultures in Southeast dating to a time when the region was supposedly populated by simple nomadic hunters is spurring a radical revision of traditional theories. Okay? A radical revision of traditional theories, okay? About people who inhabited North America 6,000 years ago. There were permanent settlements in the Southeast United States before pyramids were built in Egypt. Okay, right here it says, an accumulation of carefully dated soil samples and long neglected artifacts from man-made mounds in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Florida show that there were permanent settlements in the Southeast before pyramids were built in Egypt, thousands of years earlier than archaeologists once thought possible. Okay, they didn't think it was possible for there to be people here. Next. The Washita Moors predate the Olmecs, the Incas, the Aztecs, Toltecs, Mayan civilization in America, but we're all related. It's all the same people. Next. Here you have, he's saying, let me get to where it says Poverty Point. Rousseau says some researchers hesitate to publish data suggesting the mounds they studied were older than agriculture. Faced with solid evidence that one mound complex of Poverty Point, Louisiana, complete with a 70-foot high bird-shaped mound and elaborate rows of concentric ridges dated to 1700 BC. That's about 3,000 years ago. Okay? It goes on to talk about carbon dating, and it talks about the existence of people clearly capable of building, oh, here he is. Now the firm radiocarbon dates from a dozen ancient mound sites in 3 states, archaeologists say the Poverty Point complex, rather than being an anomaly, actually represents the climax of 2,000 years spat of mound building, and that predates the Mayan civilization in Central America. So now you have people in Louisiana 2,000 years older than the oldest people recorded in time. Okay. And here at the end he says, you can't find something unless you look for it, and until the last few years, we didn't know what to look for. He says some of these sites have been destroyed by developers over the years because no one recognized them for what they really were. And what were they? They were, archaeologists began to recognize the mounds for what they really are, the outline of the first permanent communities in North America. Okay? Next. Now I'm just a researcher. I'm just looking for articles. I'm nobody special. Here you have the Olmecs, okay? Believed to be the oldest people in America's Mesoamerican pyramid builders. So you have the Olmecs down in the Yucatan Peninsula. This is in the Gulf of Mexico, right across from New Orleans. If you get in the boat in New Orleans, you go straight down, you're going to end up right here, okay? And here you have Veracruz, La Venta. Here at La Venta, you have a complex dissimilar to the complex in Louisiana at Poverty Point. Exact same layout, concentric rings, mounds. Here they have stone mounds. The mounds in the United States, North America, were earthen mounds. Earthen mounds. Next. The first Olmec heads were reportedly discovered in 1858. That's 2 years before the Civil War, and a few years after someone named Chief Justice Roger B. Taney of the Supreme Court said that black people had no rights that white people were bound to respect. Yet we have found here in Mexico evidence of ancient black civilizations, okay? They were massive in size and often weighed several tons. If I stood next to this, I'd be about this tall. It's huge, massive, okay? Olmecs are of the priest class. They still hold sacred values to the indigenous peoples of America as well as Africa. So here you have African faces in Mexico, the original people. Next. I'm not going to belabor the issue. I'm going to point you once again to some very good books. You have Paul Barton's book, History of the African Olmecs. You have another book by Mr. Frank Joseph, The Lost Treasure of King Juba, Evidence of Africans in America before Columbus. There are plenty of authors out there who write on the topic. Mr. Joseph also has a magazine called Ancient America. You might want to look that up and find Ancient America. He has several articles about our people. Next. And probably the most noteworthy author of all is the Honorable Ivan Van Sertima. This book, African Presence in Early America, is a classic. Everyone should get this book and read it. And even in this book, Van Sertima, who has done literary study of what has been published in the academic world, still finds that the first people, the Olmecs, date back to 1500 BC, about 3,000 years ago. And the same time, 3,000 years ago, is about the same time that they date the first civilizations in Europe, the Greeks. The Greeks were the first civilizations in Europe, okay? And you can trace the Greeks back. The Greeks can be traced back to their first writer ever, Homer. Who's read the Iliad and the Odyssey in here? If you go to college or high school, they're going to require you to read this book called the Iliad and the Odyssey. It is the first writing ever published in Europe, okay? About 832 BC. Before 1000 BC, there's no record of anybody in Europe doing anything. 1000 BC. Louisiana, we have pyramids here, 3800 BC. Okay, next. Here's an article. Brother Umar must be tripping. He don't know what he's talking about, right? Article from MSNBC. Now they're right all the time, right? That is the news. This is the authority, right? Olmecs to the north of Mexico. What? To the north of Mexico? What's it saying here? Mexican monoliths could change history. 3,000-year-old carving contains new symbols of Mesoamerica. And I just kind of highlighted some things in the article. It says, the Olmec Civilization, one of the oldest in the Americas, was more widespread than thought, or that another culture thrived alongside it 3,000 years ago. Now, what is this other culture? They name the Olmecs, they don't name the other culture. Okay. It goes on to say, it is a very relevant indicator that Olmec's penetration far to the north, or of the presence of a new group coexisting with the Olmecs, okay? Far to the north of Mexico is where? Texas, Louisiana, correct? We got a new group, still unnamed group of people, far to the north of the Olmecs, okay? Olmecs migrated northward and mingled with other people there, okay? Can we name other people? All right? The Olmecs are considered the mother culture of pre-Hispanic Mexico. I was in Los Angeles talking to some of my Mexican friends. They were not trying to hear it. They were not trying to hear it, okay? It says, an advanced civilization with hydraulic systems, canals, and other technologies make it the oldest and most advanced center of its time, found in what later became Washita Indian region, which is just south of Texas. Okay, next. Now here you have right here is Louisiana. Right here are the Olmecs. Right here is where they found this new head. Okay, just south of Texas, just south of Mexico City. Next. Another article. Oh, go back one. Go back one. Go back one. Okay, come on. From the USA Today. Mexican archaeologists unearthed monolith showing early calendar, decapitated women. Okay. Mexico researchers say Thursday they were unearthed what may be one of the earliest calendars in Mesoamerica, a monolithic sculpture that suggests that women held important status roles in pre-Hispanic culture. That is significant in that the Washita is a matriarchal society. In the Washita, the women held high place of esteem. It's like in our own families. Grandma is high ranking. Grandpa gives grandma much respect, and grandma ultimately has a lot of power. The ancient Washita and the ancient civilizations all over the world had women in high places of respect and honor. The women made the rules, the women maintained the family, the men maintained society. Men interacted outside the household. Women interacted within the household. If someone strange came, the man wouldn't deal with the stranger from outside, external. How about it? Foreign affairs. The men dealt with the foreign affairs, the women dealt with domestic affairs, okay? Women ran their household, okay? Still today, men with their women run the household, correct? Keep the clothes, they reduced it down to keep no dishes washed and the clothes thing. But in ancient times, in the Washita, the women held the power of the land. They held positions of power. Here it says, what they found was a giant calendar. It was carved between sometime around 700 BC. Possibly predating early Mayan calendars by hundreds of years, okay? So now they found something at this ancient site of the Washita, of ancient people, that predates the Mayan calendars. As we know, Mayan calendars are thought to be some of the oldest calendars in the planet, okay? The Mayan calendar right now is really in the news because people are looking at the fact that the Mayan calendar predict this awesome occurrence in the year 2012, okay? All around the planet, people are preparing for this great event to occur in the year 2012, okay? They know not what it's going to be. They don't care. I personally got first-hand knowledge from Her Highness the Empress of the Washita, and I will share that with you momentarily. But here you have evidence once again from USA Today. It says this would be the first depiction of a calendar or calendar elements in such an early time period. Weighed about 20 tons, was found March 2005 by construction workers at Tantuk ruins in San Luis Potosi State near Mexico's northern Gulf Coast. The northern Gulf Coast of Mexico, very close to Louisiana. Next. It says, the theory has not yet been proven or published in scientific journals, though Mayan calendar calculations reach far back in time. The physical calendars themselves are not nearly as old. This is significant. It's saying that the calculations of the calendars are older than the physical calendars themselves. We know that amongst our people in Africa, the oldest calendars in the world is the stellar calendar. We today use the Gregorian calendar. What that is, that's 12 months, some 30 days, and Black History Month is what? 28 days, okay? Some months are 30 days, some years it changes. That calendar came about from the Romans. Caesar went in, and Julius Caesar took a month, called it July, and messed all the numbers up, huh? Augustus came behind him, took a month, messed all the numbers up. So now you go through the calendar, you look at October. We know Octo means 8, but that's the 10th month, huh? Because 2 Caesars added their own months in there. November, that's 9. December, that's 10. Okay? So our calendar we're using today is whack, okay? It's whack, but it's okay. Understand the oldest calendar in the world, one of the first calendars we used was called the solar calendar. Egyptian calendar dating back almost 4,000 years old, okay? The solar calendar was a calendar that had 365 days and a quarter days, 365 and a quarter days, just like our calendar does today, but it only had 13 months in it. It had 12 months of 30 days and 1 month of 5 days. That 5 days has been kind of mimicked today in the United States by African-American people by celebrating Kwanzaa. The last week of the year, we celebrate Kwanzaa, celebrate our family values and principles, okay? So you have a calendar here. It says the lunar calendar has frequently been associated with female figures. Once again, highlighting the fact that in the ancient civilizations, it was a matriarchal society where women held high positions and high places, okay? And it suggests that women played very important roles, not only as priestess, but politically as well, which shows, once again, a tie to the Washita people. We're ruled by an empress. We have women playing very important roles, not as priestesses, but politically as well. Next. Here's an article from a magazine called Ancient America. New evidence of ancient Afro-Americans. Ooh. Okay. I actually met the gentleman who found these artifacts. In this cave in Illinois, things were found. Artifacts, judging from their internal evidence, range in age from roughly 2,200 to 1,800 years, depict men and women from various parts of the ancient world. Here's the part we need to get to right here. Among the most beautifully and skillfully executed of all the Burroughs Cave stones are many depicting distinctly West African persons, identifiable even down to the sacrification lines accurately shown in their faces. None of them appear to have been slaves. On the contrary, some wear fine garments and jewelry befitting individuals of rank and influence. So you have in Illinois, Objects represent the first physical proof of overseas visitors to the Americas in prehistoric times. Next. Here are some of what the stones they found. Carvings of Africans, okay? Africans in a cave in Illinois. Dating back 2,000 years. Next. Here's an article I found. Oh my God, I love this one. Nevada mummy. Let's stop right there. They have mummies in Nevada? Mummies in Nevada? Where are the mummies, everybody?
Egypt.
Egypt, right? Where's Egypt at? Africa. You think so? We're going to discover some more now. Okay, this says, anthropologists say man found in a cave in 1940 is more than 9,400 years old. Okay, check it out. The remains are kept a secret in a secret location in Carson City Museum. Officials allow reporters to view the mummy on the conditions the site would not be disclosed, okay? Over here, I'm sorry to tell you right here, it's a very important section that got washed out. People just kept doodling on this section. It says, in addition to the flesh, the hair was black at the time of discovery. What they found with this mummy, you can go look this up. It's in the Las Vegas Sun. Several articles about this mummy, this man being found. Just recently, there was an argument about this mummy they found because the local Native American tribe near this location tried to claim the body. But the scientist was very clear in telling them this could not have been of your people. This skull, because this body was kept intact. They found skin, 9,000 years old, and hair, 9,000 years old. It goes on to say at the end, it said the extreme dry environment of the small cave, 15 by 25 feet, provided natural preservation of the soft tissues, and these remains were found buried under the remains of another man which had been ravaged by coyotes. Dancy says scientists believe man was in this area 11 to 12,000 years ago. I can tell you right now, I found another article about a man 9,200 years old in California near a place called Pyramid Lake. Pyramid Lake. Next. Now, more evidence. Arizona Gazette, 1909. Exploration of the Grand Canyon. Okay. It goes on to talk about mysteries of immense rich cavern being brought to light. Let me read this a little bit to you what it says in here, what they found here. It says, the latest news of the progress of the explorations of what is now regarded by scientists as not only the oldest archaeological discovery in the United States, but one of the most valuable in the world, which was mentioned some time ago in the Gazette, was brought to the city yesterday by G.E. Kincaid, the explorer who found the great underground citadel of the Grand Canyon during the trip from Green River, Wyoming, down the Colorado River in a wooden boat to Yuma several months ago. According to the story related to yesterday to the Gazette by Mr. Kincaid, the archaeologists of the Smithsonian Institute, which is financing the explorations, have made discoveries which almost conclusively prove that the race which inhabited the mysterious caverns hewn in solid rock by human hands was of Oriental origin, possibly from Egypt, tracing back to Ramses. Understand, at the turn of the century, when you heard the word Oriental, it was synonymous with the word Egyptian. They always taught that Egypt was in the Middle East. The Middle East, Asia, trying to detach Egypt from Africa. But it's clear to let you know that, Egypt is in Africa, okay? Goes on to say, if their theories are borne out by the translation of the tablets engraved with hieroglyphics, the mystery of the prehistoric people of North America, their ancient arts, who they were and whence they came will be solved. Egypt and the Nile and Arizona and the Colorado will be linked by a historical chain running back to ages which stagger the wildest fancy of the fictionists. Okay, this is about 100 years ago, huh? Have you heard about this before? The Grand Canyon? Come on. Okay, let me see. hieroglyphics. Now check this out. This is so deep. I love this. Me and my family, we've been to Grand Canyon a couple of times, okay? Here it says, on all of the urns, on walls over doorways and tablets of stones that were found by the image, are the mysterious hieroglyphs, the keys to which the Smithsonian Institute hopes yet to discover. These writings resemble those found on the rocks above the valley. They say they got hieroglyphics on rocks above the valley in the Grand Canyon. Now who wrote hieroglyphics? Okay, the ancient people of Egypt. It goes on to say, these writings resemble those on the rocks about the valley. The engraving of the tablets probably had something to do with the religion of the people. Similar hieroglyphs have been found in the peninsula of the Yucatan, but these are not the same as these found in the Orient. Some believe that the cave dwellers, anyway, you got what I'm saying here. Now look at the bottom down here, it says, the tomb or crypt in which the mummies were found. Next. They got mummies, not one mummy, got mummies in the crypts and tombs of the Grand Canyon. Now look here, let me show you, this is a map of the Grand Canyon, okay? Here you have Cheops Pyramid, the Tower of Ra, Osiris Temple, Temple of Set. You got Isis, you got Buddha Temple here, you got the Brahma Temple, Diva Temple, okay? Why would they name these places after these people? They knew who was here. It just so happened this is the same location where they found the caves. Okay, next. There's another picture of the Grand Canyon I have here. You can see here is Isis Temple here. Here's Osiris Temple. Next. Now, here's a pyramid near Atlanta, Georgia. All right. Anybody been to Atlanta recently? You visited a pyramid there? Next. It talks about an accumulative evidence. It says, let me get down here to some, excuse me now. Here we go. The accumulation of evidence makes a convincing case of the emergence of permanent social systems thousands of years earlier than we thought, says Atlanta-based National Park Service archaeologist Michael Russo, who recently fixed the date of a mound complex near Marco Island, Florida at 4,800 years. It changes our whole view of prehistory in North America. Okay, next. This is a picture of the side of that pyramid. Next. Right here on this pyramid, you have this elaborate road, well engineered, symbol of serious civil engineering, okay? At a pyramid near Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, next. Geometric ramps lead to the top of this ancient astrological observatory. Next. Once again, you have evidence of people from that Dey-Twah mound right here traced to Poverty Point. Next. Here you have another good article. The problem with Poverty Point was not the mound's ridge, it was the site's age, 3,000 to 4,000 years old. Okay, the first carbon date suggests the Poverty Point was constructed 1,000 years earlier. Dates had to be wrong. However, in the 1950s, archaeologists consistently came up with similar ages for the site, so the accuracy of the dates had to be accepted. So they set the dates. 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, there were people right here in Louisiana. Who were they? The other people that messed with the Olmecs? We're going to find out here now. It says, some suggest Mesoamerican origin of the site. It could not have been indigenous, original, aboriginal. Had to be people from Mexico, right? Built this stuff in Louisiana? Come on. Eventually, its southeast origins were accepted, but it always remains an exception, a failed social experiment. Often in science, one exception is not enough to change widely accepted theories, okay? Then in 1960s, two of the Poverty Point, keep going. Keep going, next. Two of the Poverty Point archaeologists, I'm going to bring it home to Baton Rouge right now. Southern University, listen close, Southern University. It says, Two Poverty Point archaeologists, Dr. James Ford, Dr. Bill Haig, conducted emergency excavations of Mount Sites Mounds near Baton Rouge. The mounds were leveled shortly after they completed their work. They uncovered permanent evidence of structure under one of the mounds. Charcoal from that mound dated more than 2,000 years earlier than Poverty Point. If Poverty Point is the oldest, and right here in Baton Rouge we got something 2,000 years older than Poverty Point, who was here? It goes on to say, and this is so deep, the two archaeologists decided not to publish the dates from the site. After all the disbelief over the age of Poverty Point, they knew no one would accept the very early dates from Mount Sites Mounds. Between 78 and 82, dates from 3 additional mound sites in South Louisiana predated Poverty Point by over 1,500 years. Banana Bayou, this near Opelousas, Hornsburg near Lafayette, and the LSU campus mounds. The results, here it is now. Why don't you know? Why don't you know about this? The results were overlooked by professional community outside Louisiana because mounds of that age simply should not exist. It's published in a magazine called Preservation in Print, April 1996. Now you have evidence of ancient people, mound builders, right here in Louisiana. And what happened? The mounds of that age simply should not exist. Is that ridiculous? Next. Now let's see who was in the mounds. Minnesota, 10 skeletons of both sexes, gigantic size, taken from a mound. St. Paul Pioneer Press, 1883. Here you have West Kentucky, or West Virginia. A skeleton 7 feet 6 inches long, that's Yao Ming, okay? 19 inches across the chest, was removed from a massive stone structure, a sarcophagus, as in Egypt, that was likened to a temple chamber within a mound. This is from the Smithsonian Bureau of Ethnology, okay? A report from 1884. Understand, in 1879, the United States Congress allotted money to go find out who was on all these pyramids. There were pyramids up and down the Mississippi River. There are thousands of pyramids all over the United States right now. Thousands. Anywhere you got Mississippi River, Ohio River, Arkansas River, Illinois, Minnesota, you have pyramids all over the place. Next. Oh, here we go now. Calm down. A 9 foot 8 inch skeleton was excavated from a nearby mound, Brewerville, Indiana. 9 foot 8 inch skeleton. Here we go, Ohio. A mound near Toledo, Ohio held 20 skeletons, seated and facing the east. Now who sits up skeletons and set them? You got a skeleton and buried, sitting up? Check it out now, with jaws and teeth twice as large as those of present day people. And beside each was a large bowl with Kirsty Roth hieroglyphic figures, okay? Now who writes in hieroglyphics? Yes. And that's Chicago report. Oh, come on now. Don't quit on me now. Oh, there we go, baby. Okay, Chicago report, 1898, republished. Okay, next. Here you have a map I got from an old history book. So it's published. It shows Dey-Twah Mounds here. Moundville is a mound in Alabama, right by the University of Alabama. Right along something called the Black Warrior River, okay? You have Emerald Mound, Natchez, Mississippi. Fatherland Man, that's Mississippi. Spiral Mound is where my grandmother came from, okay? You have all over the United States pyramids and mounds all over the place, okay? Even down here, you get the same pyramid culture in Mexico, up here. Next. It's a book called Arkansas Mounds, next, written by a man named Mr. Edward Palmer, but it was actually, the artwork inside was done by a black man from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. However, Mr. Palmer, to draw this, is an African-American in Arkansas who drew up thousands of pictures of mounds, next. Here are some of the pictures of the mounds. This could be deceptive because this is an aerial view of a mound site. The mounds are built in shapes of birds, animals, different things. This says 80 feet to the inch. Massive, huge complex. This says 30 feet to the inch, 100 feet to the inch. These are huge complexes. Here's a human being. 75 feet to the inch. Mound sites. Next. Here's a mound site in Ohio. What's that remind you of? That reminds me of the Starship Enterprise, okay? This is a wall built around a mound site. Today, if you go here, it's right near Columbus, Ohio. This is a giant, exclusive community, gated community with a golf course in the middle of this mound site, okay? Next. Now, many people say they never heard of Washita, but the United States government is well aware of the Washita, okay? The Washita Battlefield National Landmark, this is in Oklahoma. Next. Here it says, this is somebody you know here, says November 27th, 1868, Colonel George A. Custer. You know Colonel Custer? Okay. Let me get over here so I can read it to you. Commanded the 7th Cavalry, attacked the Cheyenne village of Chief Black Kettle. 155 Cheyenne casualties and 34 U.S. troops killed and wounded. And then it says, the battle started the Sheraton Washita campaign. The United States government, after the Civil War, started a campaign to get rid of Washita. But we're still here. Next. The Empress of Washita wrote a book. Empress Verity Terrell, Washita Turner, Ghost and L. Bay wrote a book called Return to the Ancient Ones. It is what inspired me to write my book called We Are the Washita. I spent about 4 or 5 years living with the Empress. I traveled with her all around this country, visiting mound sites, visiting courthouses, libraries. We went to Europe, to Switzerland. We went to the South Pacific, to Hawaii, to go visit the former Queen of Hawaii. Understand, at one point, Hawaii was occupied by Washita. Hawaii used to be an independent country. Hawaii was an independent country that was captured by the United States, and it was ruled by a queen, not a king. The last ruler of Hawaii was a woman named Leleokalani, a Washita, and she died in the Washington Palace in Hawaii in exclusion, okay? The Empress of Washita wrote this book, Return to the Ancient Ones, and it's a monumental work. I write about her work in this book, and this book here, she outlines her 30-year research to document all the information I talked about right just now. She has done extensive work inside this book. She has legal documents showing one of the oldest court cases in the history of the world. And in her work, she was able to go back and have the state of Louisiana return more than 68,000 acres of land to the Washita people. Okay? And the Empress of the Washita, she truly inspired me to come out and do the research I do myself, okay? As all the school I went to, I attended Dillon University down in New Orleans, University of Texas, University of Texas in Austin. I attended schools all over the world. I didn't get an education until I found Empress of the Washita and put in 5 years with her, okay? Traveling and studying myself, knowledge of self, knowledge of our people. And for years, I wrote this book 10 years ago. And it wasn't until last year I was inspired that she come back out and release this book because I saw so much nonsense and misinformation going on. And now it is time for us to now take a closer look at ourselves and our place here in Louisiana, here in America. After what happened in New Orleans last year, 2 years ago, I knew then it was a time for me to do my part. I was not given the opportunity to work with the Empress and live with the Empress for me to take the information and just sit on it anymore. I had, the Creator came to me and I had to get out and release and share what I know. All I can do is point arrows to you. I can tell you go read this book. All the books you saw up there, I read. I'm a student. More so than a teacher, I am a student. And we all must remain students because we have been, as Malcolm said, hoodwinked and bamboozled, okay? You can't get mad at schools, can't get mad at your teachers, can't get mad at your parents. It's upon us now to go on and teach ourselves. Do the research. CNN is not going to teach us about this. MSNBC will give you a little flash, confusion, okay? But now it's time for us to take it upon ourselves to understand our history. We have always been here. Our legacy is not that of slavery. That's a very small increment of time, okay? 40 years versus 40,000 years is nothing. Why are we going to let 40 years of oppression dictate our future? I don't know, not myself and not my family. And now it's the time for us as a group to become a family, okay? Find your place, find some people you know. Next. Oh goodness. I can't, look at this. This is, this is, let me see. The present edition is issued at the time when the 100th anniversary of the Louisiana Purchase is to be celebrated. That's 1903, okay? 100 years ago, right? This guy is talking about the mound builder problem is not difficult to solve as it once was. 50 years or more ago, it was held the Mississippi Valley must have been settled by a civilized people who had migrated from some historic country, as it was reported that silver scarabs, Hebrew inscriptions, and tureen vases had been discovered in the mounds, but this was only to a lack of real information and misinterpretation of facts. At the present time, the belief is common and widespread that the mound builders were the ancestors of the Indians who occupied the Great Valley at the time of the discovery. Understand, we've always been here. I'm on here to once again point you out there to let you know we've always been here. Our history is far, far, far greater and far deeper than that of some slaves, okay? The Native American Indians are our brothers and sisters. They evolved from the empire. Indians come from India. Germans come from Germany. We are the Washita. We come from right here in the Washita, okay? If you have any questions, feel free to ask them at this time.
At this time, I'd like y'all to direct y'all attention to the front. The Zimbabwe dance is about to give y'all another performance, another blessed performance. So let's give them the undivided attention. Give them a round of applause.
Tell them to turn the lights on. Turn the lights on. Turn your lights on. I think we're finished with the slide.